Yeah, no, you have. Thanks, people. I'm just making sure that I'm on speed with all the tech. Okay, looking good. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So yeah, I think I just want to start off by saying that my relationship with meditation is not a fixed thing. It's a process, and I go in and out of feeling like I'm in a positive place with it. And why I meditate now isn't necessarily the same as why I started meditating in the first place. And it's interesting, isn't it, that question of how do you stay motivated? So I'm quite lucky with it. Do I mean that? I made a choice to move into a community, and I've made a commitment to that community where we meditate together every morning. So that really helps me. And I know, even on the days when I'm not feeling particularly connected with why I would meditate for myself, I know that my presence in the shrine room supports other people. So sometimes it's as simple as that. And sometimes I meditate on my days off just for the joy of it, more than once a day, possibly. Sometimes I feel really motivated and engaged, and other times I can really struggle and have quite a lot of resistance to the whole idea. But I do know how much discovering meditation has changed my life for the better. So when I am struggling to stay in touch with that genuine engagement, well, it's always a genuine engagement, but that sort of passion, like I really want to do it, I just try and bear that in mind. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I came to it. So I went to my first meditation class in Manchester, back when you could go to drop-in classes, in 2015, and I was having a lot of problems with some really quite serious anxiety at the time. I was quite unwell. So yeah, I was struggling with my mental health, and that was impacting massively on my physical health as well. And at the time, I had developed an exercise addiction, which I was working with. And so the idea for me to sit still was just nuts. Like, I was reflecting on this the other day, and I remembered one time I'd gone to the dentist, and I was absolutely spot on the dot of my appointment so that I didn't have to wait. And anyway, the receptionist said to me, "Great, just take a seat." And I could not sit in a dentist waiting room. I had to pace up and down. That was the state I was in, and it was affecting my body. So I had hair loss. I was just over about 6 stone at the time. I was a lecturer, so I was sort of trying to hold down a proper job, and I could barely get through a day without bursting into tears, having a panic attack in the classroom. Like, that was me at my lowest. And a friend suggested that I try meditation, and I was incredibly cynical. Just the idea of sitting still just was really quite painful, and I didn't believe for a moment that it could possibly help me. So I went to the drop-in class so that my friend would stop telling me to try meditation, so that I could prove her wrong and I wouldn't have to do it again. I don't remember my first meditation class. I actually don't remember, but I started going regularly. And I realized that somehow sitting still for 20 minutes and just noticing how difficult it was for me to keep my mind focused on my breath or wishing others well, against all odds, changed something. And it seems completely illogical. I can't explain it even now, but gradually I had more mental space in situations that I used to find triggered me hugely. I was taking things less personally when things became challenging. I found I had like a few extra nanoseconds to actually make choices about how I responded to a situation, rather than just reacting or bursting into tears or having to go and lock myself in the toilet so that my students didn't see me hyperventilating. And yeah, and it's like, I think we're so used to this idea of working on our bodies and our health, like physically, like you go to the GP, especially at the moment, goodness. You go to the GP, you join a gym, whatever. And actually there's like $1 billion industry, isn't there, in physical health? And certainly for myself, It was like I had become the product, and I was trying to achieve this idea of this thing in the future that was going to be this ideal me. And in allowing myself to become commodified, I'd also completely lost touch with my present moment, completely. So for me, deciding to pick up meditation as something that would be actually a part of my life was really very radical. And it was about reclaiming my own mind and empowering myself, taking some responsibility. Just sort of taking myself back. But the reality of meditation for me is a daily grind. It isn't, I mean, I know we were talking just a minute ago about, what if you're not really having what if you're not having a good meditation? I mean, yeah, I think, so here's an analogy. Since I learned what a £20 note was, I have occasionally found one in the street. And in a similar way, I've probably had about that many really quite remarkable meditations where I feel as though my mind has opened to something that I would maybe say is approaching transcendental. But that would not have happened. I know perfectly well that those, very few experiences would not have happened without sitting every day, even though it's hard, even though part of me doesn't want to, even though I'm thinking of all the other things I could do, and then realizing I'm thinking of all the other things I could do instead of my breath, etc. Those are the building blocks. Like I don't sit to have a good meditation. I sit because of the effect that it has throughout my day and in those other times when something suddenly has shifted. And I feel very quite strongly in touch with the sense that those experiences wouldn't happen without the everyday kind of, I'm thinking about something else again. It's like just learning, for me, it's learning to sit and listen to myself. Sometimes listen to myself, sometimes listen to my body, and sometimes I can extend out beyond that and I'm listening to something else, something that goes beyond that edge of what I think I am. So yeah, I suppose here's an exercise analogy. It's a bit like if I decide to run a marathon, I have to build up with a training program. And some of those days I'm not going to want to run. Some of those days I'm tired. I don't feel like doing it. But I know that if I'm consistent with that practice, then eventually the outcome is I will be able to run 26.2 miles. But actually the marathon is run way before the event of the race day or whatever it is. And I think it's the same with meditation. It's that building up throughout whatever your experience is, that brings you into a space where you can expand beyond that. And trying to bring a sense of being a friend to myself to that as well. Like, you've got sometimes you've got friends and you talk to them and what they want to do is tell you how to solve problems so they can feel a little bit more comfortable. And sometimes you've got friends that will just sit with you and nod and listen over a cup of tea. And I try and be that kind of friend to myself. It's not always easy. So that's the most of it, like on a daily basis. But there's just one other thing I want to drop in, which I'd be really sad if I left out. And this might resonate with you and it might not. But I basically believe that the next stage of evolution, not just for the human race, but for life itself, requires a mass shift of consciousness. And I believe that we are individually and collectively capable of so much more love and so much more compassion. And that we are all connected in ways that we really don't see or understand in our daily life. And I believe the jug fills drop by drop. So on the days when I can't find a reason to bring myself to the cushion for me because I don't feel like it, even when I'm not feeling connected with supporting my community, I have those days as well. I just remember how much I love this planet and all the beings on her. And if I can't drag myself to meditate for me, I drag myself to meditate because I believe that one more mind trying its best to be still and to be content and to listen with love is, after all, everything else, just the best gift I can give. That is why I meditate.